Let's talk about a word. It's a word that, for a lot of us, is pretty uncomfortable. It can be filled with dread. But my goal here is that by the end of our time together, we're going to see it in a totally new light, as a symbol of an unbreakable, loving family.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. The word blood. It kind of makes you flinch, right? It just conjures up these images of, I don't know, accidents, injuries, maybe crime scenes you see on the news. It's a color, a substance that we instinctively connect with loss and with fear. You know, it's this gut reaction we all have. When a little kid falls and scrapes their knee, what happens? That burst of red is an instant alarm bell. It's a signal that shouts, something's torn, something here is broken.
I'll never forget this story my wife told me. When she was 7, her parents took her to see a movie about Moses, but they got there late. And the very first thing she saw on that huge screen was the Nile River turning into blood. Now, with no context, for a 7-year-old, that wasn't some miracle, that was a straight-up nightmare. It was a disaster.
So, on one hand, our intuition, our gut, is just screaming that blood means death. It means separation. And yet, the Bible comes along and makes this surprising, almost scandalous claim. It presents blood not as a sign of death, but as a symbol of shared life, of an unbreakable union. How in the world is that possible?
Okay, so this is where we start to unpack this. We're going to see how something that seems so repulsive is actually a revelation. It's like the Bible has its own language, right? A kind of grammar of grace that just completely flips our understanding of this symbol on its head. If you look back into the ancient world, the most serious promises, they called them covenants, were sealed with blood. And we see this pop up again and again. We see it between God and Abram, between Jacob and Laban, and maybe most famously, between God and the entire nation of Israel at Mount Sinai.
And that right there, that's the whole point. In every single one of these huge pivotal moments, blood isn't used to separate or to punish. It's a divine act of union. It's a symbolic gesture that basically declares our lives are now intertwined. Now we are family.
Now, to really get this, we've got to zoom in on one specific scene. It's a moment on a mountain that's wrapped in smoke and fire, and it's a moment that changes the entire story. The sealing of the covenant at Mount Sinai.
So check out the sequence here, because it's wild. First, Moses sprinkles blood on the altar, which represents God, and then he sprinkles it on the people. It's a symbolic act uniting them. Then something just astonishing happens. The elders go up the mountain, and they see God, which, by the way, should have meant they were instantly dead. But instead of judgment, they have a meal. They eat and drink, right there in God's presence.
I mean, you got to stop and ask yourself, what kind of God seals a deal not with a lightning bolt and a list of rules, but with a banquet? It tells you something really deep about what God is after. The goal wasn't fearful submission, it was a festive meal. It was about creating a family gathered around his table.
And if you can hold that image in your head, a family meal, then the book of Leviticus, which, let's be honest, can feel pretty weird and complicated, it suddenly starts to click. It's not about how to earn your way into the family. It's about how you live as family once you're in.
Think of it like this. The covenant at Sinai, that's like God handing you the keys to a brand new car, this amazing relationship. And Leviticus, well, that's the owner's manual. It's the service program. The sacrificial blood is like the clean oil that keeps the engine of that relationship running smoothly.
Or hey, how about this analogy? Imagine the people of God are like one living body. And sin is like a bacteria that can get in and make that body sick. The rituals in Leviticus? That's God's prescribed medicine, the treatment plan to heal the family and keep it healthy and whole.
So here's the absolute key, the thing you have to get. The sacrifices were not some cold transactional system for earning God's favor. No way. They were a loving provision from a father who was protecting the relationship he had already established. It was his way of saying, hey, we still belong together. This family is intact.
So all of this, every covenant, every sacrifice, it's all building towards one single moment, one person. And that person, of course, is Jesus. This is where it all leads.
You can see the progression so clearly, right? With Abram, it all starts with a promise. Then at Sinai, that promise becomes a real, living family, united by blood. And then, in Christ, that's the fulfillment. The whole thing comes together, perfectly and permanently.
So think about the Last Supper. Jesus holds up that cup of wine and he says those incredible words. He is deliberately, intentionally tying everything he's doing right back to that banquet on Mount Sinai. He's basically saying, you know that family bond that was sealed with blood? I am the ultimate fulfillment of it.
And through Jesus, the blood that unites us, it's not just symbolic anymore. His blood definitively brings us right into God's family. It just smashes every wall that separates us from Him and from each other. It's not just a reminder of a death that happened, it's the living guarantee of a family that lasts forever.
And just like that, we come full circle. That gut reaction we have to the word blood, that feeling of repulsion, maybe it can be replaced by something else entirely. Maybe a sense of wonder.
We started this whole conversation with blood as a symbol of brokenness and fear. But where do we end up? We end up with blood as the divine language of belonging. It's the proof that God was willing to enter our broken, messy world, all to make us His own.
And you know what? This totally changes how we should see something like communion. It's not supposed to be this super somber, grim memorial service. It's a party. It's a joyful family reunion, a direct echo of that celebratory banquet on Mount Sinai. It's a feast with God. And that leaves us with this final thought. The whole story, from a smoking mountain to a wooden cross, shows us a God who doesn't just want subjects. He doesn't want followers. He wants a family. The blood unites us at His table. So the real question for you and me is, do we see ourselves that way? Are we just followers, or are we really truly family?